Okay, well, hello again. Nice to see all those bright smiling faces. You're back for another episode of You Know Who.
Wave, guys.
Boys are back.
Oh.
So, anyways, let's introduce ourselves. Across from me, Doctor of Music, as well as many other things. This is Dr. Mark.
Wow, I've heard that from a lot of folks. Didn't know the pianist felt that way too.
Mark.
And then when this guy gets on the piano, he beats them into submission. This is Elmer. That's not true at all.
Anyways, we are Marc and Elmer, PSI.
Piano
Scene Investigations. Yes, and we are back for episode 33. It is 33. 32.
This will be 33.
Yes. And as you can see,
Yeah, our boys are back.
yes, for a little bit.
This Iggrr.
They're looking well.
Yeah, this is Grobu. So the story is, they couldn't get into kindergarten, but my partner, Laura, they call her Aunt Albach, she's homeschooling them.
Yes.
Because they couldn't get into the public school system for various reasons. So she told me a little bit about today. They go outside a lot, and the weather's been pretty decent most of the time. But she just started with it. But she says there's plenty outside and in nature to teach them in terms of simple math. And I don't know what kind of math Grobu could do, because he already flies his own little ship and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, and Iggr's a little rusty, and they're pretty good at math. So anyway, math and science, and she's talking English with both of them, making better. And so, hopefully things will be good. They seem to be happy. You see how bright their eyes look?
Yes, they do. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah.
They look happy to be back.
So we're glad to have them on the show.
Yes.
Sometimes they horse around a little bit. They got really carried away. I've heard more stories about summer camp.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, are you getting letters of complaint from the campers or
I'm
counselors?
not sure they're going back next year.
Oh, God! well, I can't wait to hear some of them later.
Grobu levitated things.
Oh, my gosh! I guess the force is pretty strong in this little guy.
Yeah. And Iggrr just loves to see it. He eggs him on. Do it again.
Do me. Anyways, folks, I want to give a little shout out to our company over here. It's not ours, but this is for you viewers. Are you tired of
I
this?
really like this stuff.
Well, I take it wherever I go.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Use this for hair polish too, right?
every once in a while when I don't have any hairspray, it keeps the hair in place. And it's resistant to heat.
Yeah.
But anyways, are you tired of seeing those fingerprints and streaks across your piano covers? Well, here it is. The answer to all your problems keeping those streaks off your piano. It's Corey's Piano Polish. This one's super high gloss. Check it on the internet. Look it up and see which one best fits the coating on your piano. There it is. Boy, it's hard to get this thing straight. Okay. Anyways. So, last episode was quite good. I was all excited about it. Pacing was good and everything. Now, I remember the second half of the last episode. I had my little rant at the end. And I could, basically, I can't speak for all pianists, okay? Because we all live very, very different lives. Some of it similar, some of it very dissimilar. But in my case, I was very, very unlucky in love. But however, things got better. I found my wonderful wife, Kathy, and we got married. We've been married since 2007. So it's a good long time. So
in my case, I married my first girlfriend, and we had a good life together for about 15 years. Married 13. And then we just kind of parted ways because we got married young, and we began to grow differently, different ideas. We parted peacefully. Then I sowed plenty of wild oats out there in the world. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
Oh God! Judging from the smile on his face.
And then Laura showed up 10 years ago. I'd met her in Tucson. We'd started to be friends just a little bit.
Yeah.
But then she reconnected, and we're just really great companions.
Wonderful.
It's nice when that happens.
Yeah, it's very good.
And I would say that somebody's my father. I had some great relationships with some of the ladies, but they just didn't last for one reason or another.
Right.
So anyway, a big one is Laura has an enormous amount of tolerance.
Oh gosh,
for me.
The same thing can be said about Kathy.
Yeah.
Listening to the same passages over
and
over and over again. And, honey, when are you going to mow the lawn? He says, honey, you've got all that music memorized. You can't remember to take the garbage out every Tuesday night.
Laura doesn't really challenge me. Well, no, she gets into me about certain things. But I'm pretty responsible for my stuff, and she's doing that. It's kind of nice. I practiced here yesterday throughout the whole afternoon.
Wow.
And she likes to get my creativity stimulates her creativity. She got cooking. Oh, she made an incredible casserole with zucchini, tomatoes, I think it has eggs in it, and lots of Italian cheese. Wow. Oh my God, it was really, still something left. I'm going to have it for dinner again tonight. It was delicious. She doesn't do that. And then when the colder weather, she gets in baking mode. And then I get all kinds of tweets.
Oh, tweets. So I'm told, I've been hearing a lot from Wittenberg these days.
Yeah. My alma mater, Wittenberg, which used to be Wittenberg University, now it's more like back to a college again in a way. It just calls itself Wittenberg, and it's named after the famous town in Germany where Martin Luther posted his principles on the door of the church. And it started, I think, in the 1840s or something like that. Mm-hmm. And there's a big building that's still there called Mars Hall, settled by German Lutherans. And it was mostly a seminary college kind of place where guys were going to go to study to become Lutheran ministers, right? But they got educated in general things, plus theology and stuff. I'm not exactly sure when the music program started, but when I was at Wittenberg back in the early 80s, mm-hmm. It was ranked as one of the best small college music programs in the country. We had a 99.6%, I think it was, placement rate into grad schools out of Wittenberg. Once you finished, if you wanted to go on to grad school, you got in. And we had really some amazing faculty members. There were probably more organists than pianists, mm-hmm. Because they had a master's degree in organ, and the American Hymn Society was based at Wittenberg for a long time. And there were some amazing organists there. Frederick Jackisch was the chair. Every spring when he did a recital, he would, the last piece on the program, he would invite people to write a theme down or something. You have to be literate to be able to do it. Write something down on the program and submit it, and he would look at it during intermission. And then he would pick the one that he liked the best and come out, and he would improvise on it. Sometimes 15 to 20 minutes. Eventually, I mean, just pulling out all the stops, and the whole church would be just shaking with the power of the organ. And I mean, you'd like have pedal fugues and things like that. And the guy was amazing. But the other ones were too. Donald Bussaro was a wonderful organist. He played for my wife and his wedding. And he was also a choral director of all the good choruses. And then there's Trudy Faber, who studied with Gustav Leonhardt. And I studied harpsichord with her as well as organ. It was a really good program. I liked the way, and it was interesting because then when I went to state grad school, Wisconsin, for example, and then for my doctorate in Boulder, when I met people who'd gone to perhaps more well-known by name schools, I was totally right there with it.
Wow.
In terms of my theory, preparation, and my history and everything. Wittenberg's School of Music, which then was kind of demoted to a department of music. At some point there was just this, they also had the Hammer School of Theology, which was a major theological seminary for the Lutheran schools. And it got moved from Wittenberg to Capitol in Columbus. This is probably back in the 90s, maybe.
Yeah, I think I remember because I used to go down to Capitol to rehearse with my instrumentalists who hired me to accompany.
Well, the news, as things are in the country, I don't know exactly how to explain. I suppose there's more professionalism, maybe in earlier training, than there might have been traditionally in the past. So, but whatever. Wittenberg, and Wittenberg did well. I mean, I imagine it's still the same, but for decades, they've been in the black, meaning they were running well above full tank. But for whatever reason, they've decided to cut the music program completely. I don't know how much time they have before it's done, but there's a few faculty members there that are going to have to look elsewhere. And I think it's a bit of a problem for some, because some have been there a while. They're not like old or decrepit. There's a very talented cellist, Daniel Cassez. He wrote a book on music training for general training.
Wow.
Amazing cellist. I think it's from Ann Arbor. I think that's where he came from. But he's been kind of a real big force in the music program for a long time. But anyway, that's it. There was a good performance hall, and I remember all the studios, and we had our own building and everything, Creek Hall, there in the corner. So, an age has passed. I think of my own teachers, and then some really famous ones from the past. Some of my teachers were really quite worthy of fame. And several great graduates there. I think from the same class, 1984, Greg Carpenter, who was studying voice, tenor. We didn't quite cross paths. I was leaving for Japan, and he was coming in to Denver. I was the pianist for the outreach program in Colorado Opera,
Yeah.
And then I also played for rehearsals and stuff in the house. But I left for Japan that summer of 1996, was it? And Greg came in very young, really, frankly, as the new director of the Colorado Opera. And he just retired this season. He's retiring this year. And he built it up big time over the last years. How long is it? 27 years or something like that he's been at it.
Yeah.
Really did a stupendously great job with the organization. He's going out flying high on a big Oriental carpet of esteem and appreciation. He's a graduate from Iggrr. And there were a number of international students, people that were there. One of the Japanese students, Sachiko-san, was our senpai in Japan, meaning kind of older aunt or uncle, kind of looking after you,
Right.
When we lived in Japan. Anyway, so here's to Wittenberg School of Music. May she ever live in our memories.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something going on where, I don't know. Is it just the nature of the market, or is there some intention to kind of cut back on it or something, or dissuade people from maybe going, well, particularly I would say going in for degrees that aren't going to get them any money. You and I both studied piano and music.
Yeah, we did.
And we've survived. We've done.
We did.
I've done reasonably well.
Yeah.
But I ain't flying. I don't have a vacation home in Florida or the Bahamas. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
At my age compared to some other people. Wow, we worked hard.
Yeah, we did work very hard.
They said sometimes that the kind of work and study and training you have to put in to becoming a successful Western classical musician
Yes, and it never stops.
is
It never
equivalent
ends.
to be the same kind of work that a physician does or a surgeon.
Yeah.
And of course, I've got some doctor friends. I've got one who's 80 years old, and he still goes at least 6 times a year to conferences to learn new stuff.
Yep.
Keep up on his.
Yeah.
He's a very healthy and vigorous 80 years old, really with it and everything.
Yeah.
But you got to keep going, and with us, it's like I like this though.
Yeah.
Yesterday I played some Philip Glass and some Charles Griffiths, and I want to look at the Abram Chasen's Chinese pieces. And I worked on the Chopin Tarantella.
Tarantella?
Yeah, pretty much almost got it down.
Wow.
That's new to me. I've never played the Tarantella. And I've been actually practicing Berceuse, which I'd never played. I played lots of etudes, polonaises, waltzes, all that kind of stuff, nocturnes. And then there's 60 some at least mazurkas, and I love Chopin's mazurkas.
Yeah.
Probably when I die, what I would love is to be playing one of Chopin's mazurkas at the piano. Just go,
Oh, God.
I love the mazurkas. They're such wonderful pieces. But it was always great stuff, new stuff to do. But anyway, I got on maybe a kind of a talk or a rant there.
Oh, that's okay.
You opened that door there, buddy. But it was a shock because it's an old Ohio institution, something like that. Did I forward it to you?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think you did. It's the first time.
Oh.
I knew Springfield was going through some kind of thing, and it's been in the news lately. But the thing about Wittenberg University's music department
is interesting no matter what's going on in Springfield.
Yeah.
And Springfield, just briefly, is quiet, kind of a charming, kind of a little fallen down from the better days, which is true in a lot of places in America. But at one time, Springfield was one of 3 cities we considered as the capital of the state.
I remember.
It's the place where the champion reapers were first made. So not really the invention, I don't think, of the mechanical reapers for farming.
Yeah.
That was all became the International Harvester Company.
Wow.
They made reapers, for
Yeah, for farm
cutting
equipment.
stuff down.
Yeah.
There was a lot of money in that town at one time,
Yeah.
and a lot of power. And a few governors, I think, came out of there, at least 2 or 3 of them. It was a really great town at the time for me to grow up in. Now, I grew up, my grandparents and even my dad would tell me about before the Second World War. There was a hardball hitting town. I mean, in terms of economy and everything. They had this massive plant that would have stretched over what the equivalent of 3 city blocks or something. It was called the Kroll Collier Printing Company or something like that. There used to be a magazine in the United States for half a century.
Yeah.
Collier's magazine.
Yeah.
It was very popular, ladies Home Journal thing.
Yeah.
I
I think we still see them.
They're big size, like life-size magazines. And it was the go-to ladies magazine for decades. Every single copy of it was printed in Springfield, Ohio.
Wow. Yeah, Kathy and I run into those every once in a while at the thrift stores.
Then they went out of business, 53 or 54, something like that.
Yeah.
And sometime after that, I mean, that was a big part of their raison d'etre for that printing company. They tried with some other stuff, like Collier's. I mean, that's like 50% of their entire annual income. And they just couldn't make it. They got shut down.
Wow.
There were some other things, and then International Harvester was there for a long time, still is. Became Navistar now. But there was a danger back in the 80s, 70s. No, not 70s. 80s or 90s, I forget. I was out of the state by then, and my dad was retired by then, but he worked there. But there was another branch of Harvester up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they decided they were going to close one of the 2 plants and merge. So either Springfield was going to move to Fort Wayne or Fort Wayne was going to move to Springfield.
Yeah.
I've been to Fort Wayne, it was a fine town and everything, but historically and the size and some of the things, it won Springfield. So Springfield won, and they merged the 2 plants, companies into Springfield. So we got an influx of folks that came from Indiana. The town's managed to go, and actually I was gone for a long time, and then when I came back here, well, I'd come back every year when I was working abroad, visit Dad. And I occasionally go back now and see the town. I don't have any intro into anybody's housing. I don't know personally anybody there anymore. So, I mean, with Dad, I could go inside the house in Springfield, Ohio. I don't have that option now. I've seen it in worse times, and it does seem to be looking better. In general, things kind of cleaning up. Certain neighborhoods, almost like it's all new paint jobs, and the yards are looking good, and stuff like that. It's possible you can have resurrection, I think. But the reason I mentioned about Springfield is because Wittenberg kind of always existed in its own bubble.
Yeah.
It was what it was. In a lot of cases in American towns, sometimes there's a really well-known school, and it almost is like an island in and of itself, a self-contained world, regardless of the community. And there are plenty of places that are like that. And I don't know the whole state of Wittenberg and such, but it's just, I can talk a long time about anything, but I feel a bit emotional about it.
Yeah, I know you
do. I remember, and I was always proud of coming from Wittenberg. I tell them, people say, well, my teachers would say, where'd you go to school? Because they'd like played, or when I'd be able to carry myself in
Yeah.
master's level theory or history courses. I told him where to go,
Yeah.
how we'd studied and stuff. We used these books. Is it Princeton Press or something like that?
Yeah.
They're used by Cambridge and Princeton as well in their programs. I think the two schools cooperated and made these books.
Yeah.
And it taught integrated theory and history, rather than having like classes in fugue and counterpoint and composition and sonata or whatever, sonata and stuff like that. And then you had a class in classical history, Renaissance history, Romantic history. No, we took medieval Renaissance with Dr. Walters. Trudy Faber didn't use that. She used Manfred Bukowski's book on the Baroque era.
Yeah.
But then Dr. Wynne used the classical and romantic books. And then Robert Howitt for 20th century actually used Vincent Persichetti's theory book.
Yeah.
And I forget what the history book was. But he didn't use it either. But Dr. Walters taught a class in world music.
Yeah.
And he did use the same series for studying the world cultures. And it was kind of cool because, as a really good example in Baroque music, we learned all the different dance forms compositionally, structurally, how they worked out, and we had to practice. For composition exercise, we had to write pieces in the style of the historical period we were in.
Yeah.
So I wrote some string quartet movements and sonata allegro movement for piano, some Mozart-like songs.
Yeah.
Romantic music, I wrote some bigger stuff abroad. That kind of thing. But we had to write Passacaglia, we had to do a little fugue.
That's a tough one.
But then we did all these different dances. And what was really cool then, Trudy had one of the professors from the dance department come in, and she taught us how to dance the different dances. Yeah, to dance a minuet or a passe-pied, or these different things, or the courant, which I forget what the name in the English school was, but it's similar kind of bum, ba, ba, bum, 2, 3, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum, be. I forget what that's called in the British tradition. What it was, but it's a courant.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because I was able to draw them my whole life. I mean, there's nothing better than using your body to feel the music and the pulses and stuff like that. And I did that with a student in Cyprus. I told that story.
I remember that.
At a piano master class, this girl was doing a minuet, and I said, "Do you know what a minuet is?" And she said, "Oh yes, it's a dance in 3/4 time, and it was very popular in the 18th century." Yeah, but do you know how to dance in a minuet? Now this was really cool because the Cypriots are very folk music. They got their own folk music, and they all know how to dance and the traditional stuff like that. So they're very amenable to that kind of thing. I said, "Do you know how to dance a minuet?" "No." I said, "Would you like to learn?" "Oh yeah, sure."
Sure.
I said to the other people, I said, "Anybody know how to dance a minuet?" "No." "You want to dance?" Yeah,
let's go.
So I had the whole class up and taught them the basic steps for the minuet and then how to dance. Even the piano professors,
They came in?
They joined too. We all were dancing around the room in a circle doing the minuet.
Wow.
And after that horseplay for a little bit, we sat back down. And I said, "Now, why don't you try the piece again?" And suddenly, whatever was like in the way,
disappeared.
well, not totally, but it started
She
to
finally-
move. And she got it. Definitely, I mean, she felt the sense of movement in the phrases and stuff like that. Well, that's thanks to Trudy Faber and her Baroque class and the way we studied stuff like that. It was really cool because then it was all contextual. I mean, really what was fascinating was like the late 18th century, the American Revolution, the French Revolution, Beethoven, Napoleon, all that kind of stuff. We understood why Beethoven's life and Schubert's adult life were so different.
Yeah.
They lived in the same city, almost the same time, but very different rulers
Mm-hmm.
and different historical
Yes,
experiences
this is
that
important.
really governed their lives. So how did it affect them psychologically, and what made things easier or harder for them professionally because of the changes that happened? The art, the poetry. I mean, one of Schubert's really dearest friends was a really, not really super famous poet, but he's regarded.
Yeah.
He was exiled.
Mm.
He was arrested by the police and exiled to some place out in eastern Hungary, out in the hinterlands,
Oh, wow.
for having written and participated in some talk that was anti-imperial.
Wow.
This was after Napoleon had been kicked out,
Yeah.
and the empire was resumed after the Treaty of Paris, or the Congress of Vienna. Not the Congress of Vienna. And even Schubert was arrested and held for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And I have a book edited by Ernst Elmar, who was a famous Schubert scholar, and he talks about, at that period, it's a collection of articles about Schubert. His is about how Schubert's signature and his handwriting changed after he was arrested.
Oh, of course so.
Which he said, clearly had an effect on his psychology.
Wow.
But not only he was arrested, but he was let go.
Yeah.
But it
still.
was from this arrest that friend
Yeah.
got sent away, and he
Wow.
never saw him again.
Terrible.
So, I mean, we had that kind of. I loved it because all of my professors, they loved the history. They were like uniquely specialized in those areas.
Yeah.
Dr. Walters is the first one we ran into for medieval and Renaissance. I mean, this is 1,000 to 1,500 years before J.S. Bach. Believe it or not, there was music before J.S. Bach, and you're going to learn it. My
That's great.
God, I remember when my own students squealed about the listening list that I would create for them when I was teaching some music history courses in Cyprus. You cannot believe the reams of music that we had to listen to
Yeah.
in Dr. Walter's medieval Renaissance class. And this was back in audio tape.
Yeah, vinyl records.
And some of them kept skipping.
I think there
I always want
was
to listen.
more than 200 pieces
Yeah.
on the listening list
Yeah.
for the one trimester for his class.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, the guy was covering over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And there's some really wonderful stuff. Of course, the closer you get to Bach, then you discover all kinds like Josquin des Prés. Do you know who Josquin des Prés was? Wow. Master motet writer. The guy could do miracles
Yeah.
with horizontal writing and motets
Yeah.
and things like that. The Renaissance and the music that was written during those times is a little hard to comprehend. Because even the way they thought about music was not the way we think of it structurally. We hear Bach, we play Bach, and you can see it, and old music too, we can understand it structurally by the way we now understand music, which is up and down. It's not the way they heard it, thought it, played it.
No, it's not.
It was all based on counterpoint writing.
Yeah.
And what's the little exercises called that we had to do?
Oh.
At a third, at a fourth, at a fifth. Is it called counterpoint?
I think,
What's the word?
Part writing.
Well, you do the little exercises,
Yeah.
and you learn to write things at a third apart, at a fourth apart, at a fifth.
Oh, canon.
Yeah, canons,
Canons,
writing
yeah.
canons and stuff.
Canonically. Yeah.
We had to do
Yeah, there's
some
some
of that.
miracles.
Now, I have the blue book on writing that's music that way.
Yeah. Which book are we talking about?
Writing canons and stuff.
Oh, canons.
Writing the exercise all the way up into. I don't know when it stopped, but I know that Czerny taught Liszt that way.
Yeah.
And,
Have you ever read Johann Fuchs?
Johann Fuchs was one of the people we looked at.
Yeah, we had to read that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that one covers everything.
Yeah.
Apparently, every composer from Bach onward
had to study that book. Everyone. There was simply no
It's
exception.
incredible. I mean, if you were a musician back in those days and worth a grain of salt, they were so universally well trained.
Yeah.
No, it was amazing.
Wow.
Well, we kind of learned more or less in that kind of fashion. And when it came time to being in a doctoral program and stuff and theory and things, I was with a guy who became a really good friend right away, and he's from Boston. And he was talking about when they had fugue class and stuff like that. I was talking with him about some of the things we did. Yeah, that's like what we did.
Yeah.
But I told him how we did it. And he said, sounds a lot more fun than the way it was in fugue class, counterpoint class.
Yeah.
I said, oh my gosh. He says, like having a stick run up your butt. But at least you guys had other like pretty pictures and historical things to look at the same time.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we toasted Wittenberg.
Yes.
And thank you for listening to me. I might cut some of all this. But,
So
yeah. Okay, I apologize.
that's okay. It's okay. I tried it immensely. I mean, some of the stuff you talked about, Renaissance and Baroque, and how it all came together and things. But, all right. So, what are we talking about today? I remember a while back we talked about the Italian School of Music. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about how
Yeah.
they were sort of the masters during the Baroque period. I mean, the Tartini and Pasquini and all those Corelli and all of that. And then all of a sudden, in the 19th century, the Romantic period,
Well,
they were quiet.
Opera.
With the exception, opera, but
yeah.
instrumental music.
No. Yeah.
Instrumental music.
Yeah.
With the exception of possibly Paganini.
Yeah.
Possibly Paganini was probably the leading instrumentalist composer coming out of Italy.
And one might say he was kind of like the end of an era, going all the way back to Corelli,
Yeah.
Tartini, and people like that. I mean, those guys back into the 16 and 1700s were famous for the violin school play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This particular way of playing, and I think Paganini was kind of a graduate coming out of that stuff. And then after him, everybody wanted to be like Paganini.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone.
They copied him, wanted to play like him.
Yes.
But it became, I can't think of any great Italian after him. There was Villon in France, and there was, of course, really famous guys. Who am I thinking of? The one that Brahms played with, Hungarian, Eugene Isai.
Eugene Isai, yeah.
Joseph Joachim, who premiered the Brahms Concerto. There were other Europeans that came on after that.
And possibly the only other Italian after Paganini, Busoni.
Well, yeah, but
He's
he
considered
didn't identify so
maybe
much as
late
Italian.
Romantic.
His dad was Italian, his mom was German, but he spent his life in Berlin.
Yeah, he
You
did.
know,
Well, you're right about that. But Italian is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, I mean, when you hear Busoni, you're thinking of Italian music.
no,
I mean,
not really.
Respighi, it was 20th century
Respighi
after,
is,
but
but
Respighi, yeah, it seems Italian.
yeah, Respighi. But he's sort of
I think it's just
much like Rachmaninoff. He was a bit of an iconoclast
Yeah.
because it's 20th century, but he
Right.
he was always looking back
Right.
towards older traditions.
Well, that was
Henceforth, why he used
the Romans.
the chants and
Right.
Gregorian chants in
Right.
some of his music. He
Well,
even
no.
wrote a concerto.
There's a
based
lot
on
of good
those.
stuff there to rely on.
Yeah.
I mean, and to a certain extent, isn't that what Benjamin Britten did?
Benjamin
As well. He went back to a great tradition of English music. But, I mean, opera really took the country by the throat.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
I mean, going all the way back, I mean, there was stuff before, but let's say Rossini really set the bar pretty high.
Oh yeah, he did.
And then there was plenty of other composers. Bel Canto period. Chopin's favorite composer was Bellini.
Bellini.
He loved
Sure
Bellini's music.
Now, strangely enough, Giacomo Rossini did write a few piano works, not well known today.
They're awful.
So there's that one piece, collection of pieces called The Ages of Man or something like that. And the only known recording I know of it is by Frederick Schuh.
You know, he did so well that for the last 30 years of his life, I mean, he lived a good time.
Yeah.
Died in Paris.
Yep.
Very wealthy, very fat, very happy.
Yeah.
But for the last 30 years of his life, he was retired.
Yeah.
He'd just done so incredibly
much,
well. You know, I mean, let's say from his 20s until around 50 or so.
Yep.
And he was just writing cranking them out one
Yeah.
after the other. I mean, and there really are some amazingly good stories and memorable music from a lot of different shows.
But he was
quit. And then he wrote a few things here and there later on in his life, but never wrote any more opera ever after.
No, but he was quite a rascal. The creditors would come after him and have him arrested and placed in a jail until he finished an opera.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't get it done until like 2 or 3 days before the opening night.
Right.
And he was still sitting in jail until the work received the success that it was supposed to receive.
There's
so everybody
very tough stories for some of the. I mean, there was a lot of Italian composers that you don't hear as like first ring. Everybody knows Donizetti, maybe Bellini, of course Verdi, Puccini. But there's some other ones. There's Boito, and then there's some other guys. Mascagni.
Mascagni.
And some of the stories are similar to that.
Really?
I mean, they had to get the thing done with the hopes that it would be successful so they could pay the rent. It was a tough job. But it's like Italy just wanted to sing.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, suddenly they just wanted to sing and screw instrumental music.
Exactly.
There was no equivalent to Beethoven in the 19th century in Italy.
No, it wasn't.
You know, that whole thing. I'm not sure exactly when it took off in the 20th century for sure. I know there's some different people. But I find it very interesting that immediately after the Second World War, one of the more famous new young string quartets that was famous for his Beethoven and all the traditional repertoire and everything. And I've collected some of it now. Quartetto Italiano.
Wow.
Italian quartet. Amazing and really very interesting playing, in particular color and sound, very kind of unique. But and then, I mean, my God, they started to roll out the conductors and the concert pianists. People, but I got you off track.
No, that's okay. So anyways, we were talking about the 19th century Romantic period in Italy, instrumentalists. Okay.
Oh.
So I bring to you the lone wolf, practically, of the 19th century instrumentalists.
Is it a particular section?
I'm sorry?
Is it a particular section?
A segment. Well, yeah. Okay. This is good. This is a prelude, basically, to PSI's featured composer.
Have we ever done that?
I don't know.
No, we didn't.
I don't think we ever did a thing, but maybe we'll.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't like to signal everything.
Okay, sure.
So this is the featured composer.
The featured composer for today. The Lone Wolf.
This is piano?
This is a piano. This is a composer of piano of the 19th century. Born 1841. Died in 1914. Lived a fairly good long life there. I bring to you Giovanni Sgambati.
Oh, Sgambati.
Sgambati. Here's some piano scores.
Liszt,
This is the composer.
Right?
This is the composer of the piano transcription. Lots of pianists play. It's what's his name? Gluck.
From Orpheus.
Yeah, from Orpheus, the Dance of the Blessed Spirits. And it's a very famous transcription by Giovanni Sgambati. Many pianists have played this as an encore. One of the more famous recorded performances, I think, is Rachmaninoff. It's very sublime, very poignant, eloquently
Yeah, it's beautiful.
plays notes. He does a few little ornamentations here and there that very few pianists do, but I was onto what he was doing. I remember listening to it, and I've never found a copy of the score, right? So
Really?
I never. Well, eventually I did.
I think I got it.
Eventually I did, but the first time I was introduced to this work was through Rachmaninoff's old Ampico piano recording of it, right? So when I was in college, I listened to that thing 100 times, and I transcribed it off the cassette tape, onto staff paper, and that's how I was able to play it.
Isn't this boy amazing?
So, anyways, it wasn't perfect, but it was close. Okay. So, anyways, you have here Giovanni Sgambati, born on May 28th, 1841, died on December 14th, 1914. He was born in Rome, an Italian father, English mother. Let's see. Went to school in Umbria, where he composed and sang and conducted for the Catholic Church. I guess he did that for a number of years. Let's see. His father passed away while he was still young, so it was just him and his mother, and all he did was just compose, sang, and conducted for the church. There's not very much written about it. Not very much at all. In 1860, he would have been around 20 years old at this point. He decides to settle in Rome, where he champions, get this, German music. He champions German music, particular Schumann, Brahms, all of it. Becomes Liszt's student from 1860. Let's see. Yeah, he becomes Liszt's student at this point. Let's see. From 1860 to 1870, that decade, he composes piano works, songs, chamber music, overtures, and he premiered in Italy the Dante Symphony by Liszt. Yeah. Let's see. He goes to his first Wagner opera in Munich. That was in 1881. And he premiered his first symphony at the same year, 1882, performs his piano concerto in England, which is a heck of a concerto. I have somewhere in my archives collection a recording of George Bollett performing it. Yes, he recorded it in some circles.
That would be cool.
That is his greatest recording. They say they say it's his greatest recording. The piano concerto by Sgambati. So, anyways, he's also premiered in Italy Beethoven's Third and Seventh Symphonies. He's also premiered the Emperor Concerto in Italy. He's also premiered Liszt's Christus Oratorio. And strangely enough, that is all the information I was able to find on this composer, just enough to fit on this one index card. Not much.
I have a feeling, I read some stuff about it.
Yeah.
Which confirms what you said.
Okay.
After he finished with Liszt, more or less,
Yeah.
he did return to Italy.
Yeah.
And he started some concert programs, series, and things. And see, because of the repertoire that he chose to favor, had nothing to do with opera. I have a feeling that and honestly, I don't know how much of an influence Busoni may have had on Italy. He spent, as far as I know, most of his entire life in Germany.
Yeah.
As an adult, professionally.
Yeah.
There's a house in Berlin which has a plaque on it, which is where he lived. But this kind of music, as the way it was presented, I have a feeling could have had an impact on young Italian musicians and composers who would have had through this kind of stuff an opportunity to be exposed to something other than opera.
Mm-hmm.
And because you start to see some, well, I mean, Respighi, for example, and Alfredo Casella. One of the things that they are doing, I think, is an outgrowth of the kind of nationalistic ideas of the later 19th century. Dvorak embracing his people's music, Brahms setting a kind of tone for that by writing, gypsy music in the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yep.
And then really incredibly, Debussy comes along and kind of reinvents French music again.
But he is not without his influences of earlier past composers either.
Yeah. But so, for example, with Casella and Respighi, what they begin to look at is, well, what was it that made Italian music famous, or what do we have in our culture that we can look back at? Well, obviously, in Italy, the Roman Church, to a certain extent, could be a big influence.
Exactly.
But then they also go culturally all the way back to the Romans, the Empire.
Yeah.
And then everybody's then looking at folk music.
Yes.
The tunes that grandma or great grandma used to sing, stuff like that. That was a huge break from probably Central European dominated music making. Where there were the internal movement towards grammaticism, probably brought to its height by Richard Wagner.
Yeah.
And then carried from there by Strauss, for example, and Schoenberg.
Yeah.
Into fundamentally the dissolution of harmony.
Yeah.
Well, there were other ways of hearing and thinking about music and eventually writing it, which coming from the folk traditions would have used more older church inspired modes, for example. That plays a role in Respighi's music.
Yes, it does. Very much so.
I mean, the guy's almost singularly known for the Sgambati transcription of the Dance of the Spirits, right?
What's Christoph, right?
Christoph Willibald-Gluck.
Yes.
From the opera Orpheus. And I agree with him that the best performance is probably Rachmaninoff.
Always.
Because it's a little bitch of a hard piece.
Oh, it is.
Because you have jump, 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 jump. You're playing the string accompaniment. Yeah. And then this lovely this beautiful melody over it. And it's, if you really do it well, it's balletic.
It's beautiful.
It's a moment in the, I don't know for sure, but I think, it's the Dance of the Spirits. I think it is a ballet.
Yes, it is
a ballet in the opera.
Yes,
it is. So it has to be very, and this is a time of French ballet.
Yeah.
So very up in the air and very graceful, delicate and all that. But that was it.
Yeah. And now, you say it was a difficult piece, and it is, but not having been familiar with the score when I was in college, the only thing I had was a pencil, staff paper, and my ears to figure out what was Rachmaninoff playing on that cassette tape. Lots of rewinding back here. Press play. What was that again? Rewind, press play. And personally, I've now compared my written version of the work to the original score. And actually, mine's easier to play. Believe it or not, it's easier to play. I mean, basically the figurations with the da 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 da. I put that all in one hand. Yeah. Whereas in the original score, you're constantly switching hands like this and trying to work the melody. Yeah. But I didn't write it that way. I had
all the figurations in my left hand.
But in some ways, I think what's more important
so-
is probably the music culture that he brought to
Yeah.
Italy that was something counter to opera.
Yeah.
And, there was a following, right? I mean, Rubinstein talks about early on when he first went down and concertized in Italy, he really enjoyed working down there. He enjoyed the audiences, the people. Mussolini gave him a medal early on, which he returned to him and didn't want it eventually because of how things became. But, and I've learned some interesting things. The conductor here, Alessandro Siciliani, is a friend of mine. I've learned things about him. Importantly, I bought a book by, I think her name is Lorenza de' Medici,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in the 20th century.
Yeah.
She's descended from the Medicis,
Yeah. There were two of them.
and she wrote this really cool guy. I was just looking at him recently for inspiration. I got a big library of cookbooks.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at some Italian and French recipes coming into cooler weather, and that's when I like to cook.
Mm.
What do you need in the summertime? Just have some fresh vegetables with some olive oil and vinegar, and some bread, You don't want to eat, super hot, strong, and heavy in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Laura's such a great cook. So, but when we get into the winter, especially, make a wonderful French chicken dish. But I've been looking for things. But I found this wonderful cookbook by Lorenza de' Medici. And I think she's a very with it modern lady. I think she's up in years now. I don't think she's dead yet. But she talked about, certainly before the Second World War, there was still the remainder of a very class-divided kind of society. There were the upper class people, and then there's not so much lower class, but more the peasante. Peasante.
Yeah.
The working class of the peasants and people like that. And what she's talking about, and what she grew up with her grandparents' estate in Tuscany, was as a little girl, playing around with the kids and stuff. They didn't know any different. Nobody cared when they were kids.
Yeah.
The kids of the household workers and the farmers and stuff, and she is, the descendant of the Medici family.
Yeah.
They played games and did stuff together stuff. But there were differences when it came time to dinner time, when it came time to eat, for example. Certainly with socializing formally and things like that. She began to learn how to, be an upper class person. But she had really good friends and people she cared about, and she was like a very sweet lady who worked in the kitchen, and she loved her like her grandma.
Yeah.
And took her to heart, and she said she had a huge influence on her interest in cooking.
Wow.
But the book, the next chance you get to talk after I shut up,
Okay.
I'm going to get that book and show it to you. Show it to them. It's really cool because the beginning of it is she explains what life was like before the Second World War, which was, in her mind, a continuity of life going back eons in Italy. It worked, she says. It worked.
Yeah.
The upper class couldn't have survived without all the work and the contributions of the lower class. Yeah. And they were generally well compensated, or they had places to live and things like that. It would have come out of the ancient days of the serf and feudal system of the Middle Ages, but it evolved. But she's got recipes that represent both the upper class world and the lower class world. So the reason I'm saying this is because Alessandro is clearly from an upper class family.
Yeah.
It's a little different, we're saying, than like Boston Blue Bloods or New York, Upper West Side, Manhattan, Central Park kind of New Yorkers. I don't mean that.
Right.
I mean, I think that they were reasonably well off and stuff. His father was a very famous opera house director of several of the great opera houses in the 20th century, specifically La Scala for like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And you know, the oldest Western universities in the Western world are in Italy. And he attended a couple of them. I think he went, well, he was at University, I can't think of it.
Cecilia?
Well, the Santa Cecilia in Rome, yes. He also went to the Verdi Conservatory.
Verdi Conservatory? Wow.
But I think he also took classes at the University of Bologna.
Bologna, wow.
That's a very old school.
Yeah.
Heidelberg is pretty old in Germany, and the Sorbonne, I'm not sure what the oldest school is in France. But, I mean, Italy is really old.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Maestro has a really wonderful classical education and knows philosophy and poetry and all that, and very kind of older classical kind of study, which I get because I kind of had that in a way in Springfield in my own way, and the teachers that I had, I studied Latin for 3 years, so I learned about a lot of similar things and read similar authors and stuff. One of the things I think Rubinstein liked about Italy was that intellectual sophistication of the upper class people.
Yeah.
So
talking Arthur, right? Arthur Rubinstein?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't mean this to sound like some classist asshole. It's just I'm thinking from a historical point of view. Opera in the 19th century caught the ears and the hearts of the people.
Oh, of course it did.
Period.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's strength in numbers, big time. Mozart string quartets, Beethoven string quartets, later Beethoven sonatas, Schubert in Italy. I mean, yes, but who?
Yeah.
You know? And I think this is what Sgambati probably, when I read his life story, it wasn't a ton, but when it said what he did and how he was honored for what he did later in his life, I think he created these opportunities for there to be something other than Italian opera in Italy that people would pay attention to. And who knows, it would be interesting if you could ever find something, if Michelangelo were interviewed, for example. He goes back far enough.
Oh, yeah.
That, I mean, Sgambati would have been dead, but at least the things that have been set up, you know. Be interesting to see if Casella or Respighi ever talked about Sgambati. And
that would be very interesting.
Kinds of influence that he might have had.
Incidentally, these scores,
where'd you get these?
I got these scores from Stanton's. Now understand, these were the only scores available at Stanton's, and nobody was buying them. And they were so expensive. These suckers, you know, they were nearly $10, $20, you know, and I was only lucky to get this one for $7, but the other ones I had to pay full price. I mean, look at that, $13.95.
Wow.
You know, and
you're talking decades ago.
So yeah, these were actually published and released in the 90s. There was not much heard about Sgambati's piano scores. Okay, now if you go on YouTube to find performances of these, you're not going to find very many of them. There's two pianists who have released a few performances of these works. One is Francesco Caramiello. I don't know. It's right there in the second line. Francesco something
Caramiello. Francesco Caramiello.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Miello. Miello.
Yes. And the other one is Pietro Spada. And they both worked on these scores in editing and putting together, and
they did this.
And so far,
what I've seen on YouTube, they're the only two that have been, putting recordings and up on YouTube of these works. Now,
this is clearly a work of love and
yes,
because I've never even heard of the editor. Occacini e Spade Editori, Pavone di Albano Laziale from Rome.
it's Italian.
No.
His Italian's amazing. He does German and French too. It sounds almost legit.
Some good stuff. And one of the things I noticed,
Yeah.
one of the concert etudes, the
Yeah.
very first one,
Yeah.
and some of the nocturne stuff.
Yeah.
The boy had some good sized hands.
Oh yeah.
It stretches out a ways.
Yes.
And some of the fast stuff, like in the second concert etude, there's some stuff going on in the left hand, which I would find a little exhausting and stressful after a while.
Yes.
Basically.
Now, to give you a heads up, the Opus 2 concert etudes, it's strange. When I listen to the recordings on YouTube, well, I even tried playing some of these. They're very difficult.
Yeah.
But I almost felt like the first one was incomplete. It almost felt like it until I listened on YouTube, and it was indeed incomplete.
Huh.
And so there's it was sort of like an A, then A prime kind of form. And I was wondering, is there a B section? And sure enough, there is a B section. They found a B section.
Mm-hmm.
It's a chorale.
Uh-huh.
And so,
I saw that in there, yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, so I'm just giving you fair warning. Opus 2, the 2 concert etudes. I don't know if they actually released.
It's not in there.
It's not in here.
I saw something else that looked like a chorale.
Yeah. So, but anyways, much can be learned from this. Have you ever studied Partimenti? Partimenti, okay. It's a type of exercises. I think they teach it at the Italian schools. They teach because it's sort of like a kind of an exercise on improvisation in the Baroque style. It includes arpeggios, but also some counterpoint here, moving voices. And I've seen it done. If you're looking for how Partimenti works, check out the Cedarville Music.
No, he did not say Partimenti. They're laughing.
They're laughing about Partimenti. You wouldn't think that. Partimenti. So wonderful. But anyways,
go ahead.
Check out the Cedarville Music channel. Okay, the main guy there is John Mortensen. I've mentioned him once or twice on our in PSI.
Yeah, I know his name. What?
He's brilliant.
John Mortensen?
John Mortensen.
He's in Cedarville, Ohio?
He's in Cedarville. He teaches at the college university there.
Huh.
Every once in a while, he makes an appearance. Every once in a while, he makes 1 or 2 appearances on tone-based piano. But he's brilliant.
I wonder if Cedarville's going to absorb any of the faculty from Wittenberg.
I don't know.
Because Cedarville has become what Wittenberg used to be, and there's a number of people that were on that faculty that were at Wittenberg.
Well, I did not know that. Yeah. Okay, but anyways, it's interesting. One of these days, we're going to have to make a comparison about the different schools of teaching theory and harmony. Recently, in 1 or 2 episodes ago, I brought in a book by one Rameau, Jean-Philippe Rameau. It was a treatise on harmony. And I've read just a couple chapters of it, and the difference between the way he teaches harmony and theory and the way, John Mortensen was talking about Partimenti. Vastly different concepts. It's the same idea, basic idea. Rameau tends to look at balance and, I guess, what's the word am I looking at? Tessitura. So range is very important in the way they teach theory and harmony in France. But in Italy, it's much more expansive and freeform.
You think it's because Partimenti is taught on the keyboard?
It's taught on the keyboard.
Where Rameau, you have to consider this when you're writing for instruments, tessitura and also range,
Yeah,
become important.
yeah. But in Italy, the partimenti, the concept of teaching partimenti has gone back since the Baroque period.
But it could still be
Yeah,
keyboard
so it's still keyboard based.
or
Yeah. But it's interesting. This music here, I'm talking about these scores by Sgambati.
Did you show them all? They're all the same covers.
Yeah, they're all the same covers, but check this out. They're beautiful covers. That's a picture of the guy.
Nice external paper too.
Yeah, closer look. That's him. Okay. There's much in common with the textures he uses in his music. It's more expansive, but basically it's some of it reminds me of the writing of Respighi's piano music. A lot of it is, but a little more expansive. He uses the entire keyboard. Now, even though he was a student of Liszt, he uses octaves, but it's not in the manner of a Lisztian tradition. I don't believe it is. It's much more melodic. It's more contrapuntal, and it's much more gives the octaves as used to enforce the harmony. Even when he uses octaves in the melody, it's not the same. I mean, it's almost as if he's orchestrating. Playing his music, I find that he has much more in common with Brahms and Beethoven. Really.
So that's interesting. And then I wonder, did he and Busoni know each other or meet up in Germany?
I've never read anything about it. Haven't. I mean, he's pretty much.
This is what is his
There's
birth
nothing.
year? 18 what?
I'm sorry.
1841.
1841, I believe.
He was older.
1841,
right?
I think so.
Busoni was 1860s.
Yeah.
Right.
This is 1840. You're right.
So he's older than Busoni.
Yes. 1841 to 1914, but they would have been around the same time. So, but anyways, yeah. Check out his music. I mean, if anything, listen to some of the recordings on YouTube. Melodically, like I said, it's very cantabile. The cadences, the bursts of pianistic colors that come out of the instrument. Now, if you're looking for a bravura playing, it's not really that. It has much more of a poetic temperament, but bursts of color. I mean, it almost reminds me of something like the Fountains of Italy or something. But yeah, very highly recommended.
So you ever inclined to play this stuff on the program?
This one,
Right.
this one, the
Some of the
nocturnes.
nocturnes?
Yeah, these are beautiful. The nocturnes. Now, I wanted to say something about the way they teach in Italy, because there's another important composer that studied in Italy whose piano writing is very similar to this. You wouldn't think so. And he was a Russian who studied in Italy.
Oh,
And his name is Mikhail Glinka.
yeah.
He studied in Rome.
Now, he's not well known as a composer for piano. He's basically, they dubbed him in Russia as the father of Russian opera.
It was like the predecessor of the Russian Five, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
like,
But if you look at his piano writing, I have seen Mikhail Glinka's piano writing. It has something like this, except but once again, Sgambati being a real pianist, it's much more expansive. But still, with Mikhail Glinka, it's pianistic to a way, but it's almost as if he didn't have the pianistic know-how on exploiting the instrument. You know what I mean? So in basically, his piano music would have been important to maybe intermediate to early advanced student level.
mm-hmm.
His piano music still has like Russian melodies, and he still borrows themes from Mozart and writes variations on those. You might want to look at his music sometime.
I'm not. I've been thinking about it. But anyways, that is Giovanni Sgambati. Check him out. I think if pianists are going to be looking for new music, Italy is one place they might want to try looking at.
That's interesting.
So,
Definitely, I would recommend Respighi. What's that book that you got for me?
Oh, yeah, it's down
here. Something
yeah,
in the top.
I don't
No, it's in that pile.
The other pile?
No, this one here, but
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I got it for you.
this is underneath the folders.
I don't see it.
Oh, it's a Davis. Anyway, there's a wonderful book of ancient airs and dances.
Yeah. The three preludes on Gregorian chant, the 6 pieces for solo piano, which are basically salon pieces, but they're wonderful though. But
I played the Nocturne.
yeah,
I played that at Novi Sad, Serbia. It was an urban night. But
it's a beautiful work.
yeah, it's really a set of pieces.
Yeah, it's a set of 6 pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, that is Giovanni Sgambati. Now, all right. So, in my travels this week, it wasn't. Kathy once again, wanted to go out thrifting. So, and that's usually my sign that looks like I might find something. And we did find something. And this is someone that, I guess I should say that I wanted to use that as a prelude to our next segment, PSI's High Plains Thrift.
Oh.
Okay, folks, are you ready? This is probably going to be the find of the month. What I found here.
Excited.
So, anyways, so for some reason or other, Kathy and I went to one of the half-price bookstores. It's the one here at Lewis Center. And
I've almost never been in that one.
it's a nice store.
Yeah?
It's a nice store.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
they've
very
got a
close to here.
Yes, it's a very good
I've been
collection.
to the Westerville one often.
Yeah, that's the one you used to go to.
A lot.
Oh,
In
that's,
Westerville.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's quiet there too.
Yeah.
Here, not so quiet.
Yeah?
Yeah, not as quiet. I mean, it's quiet in the store, but if you get around the parking lot,
Oh, yeah.
it's not so.
Well, 23 is just over.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I know you're all waiting for bated breath. What did Elmer find? Well, I found a CD recording. This was released in Cincinnati, and it is a CD recording of one Teresa Carreño.
Whoa.
Look at this. I'll bring it up. That's her. Teresa Carreño, the Valkyra of the piano.
She was married to Jean Delbert, right?
Yeah, well, she was married to others as well.
Taller than him.
Yeah, but that's her. Take a good look at it.
Oh, she's a pretty girl.
She was a very pretty girl. She was a very pretty girl. She is a Lechetitsky student, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Lechetitsky. She studied with Theodore Lechetitsky. I have absolutely no idea if she did or not. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. But there she is. The opening track is interesting enough. The opening track is a concert etude entitled "At the Seashore" by Bedřich Smetana.
Actually, it's Smetanta, it says, but it's a mistake.
I'm sorry, what?
It says Smetanta.
Smetanta.
There's a mistake.
It was a typo?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah,
it's
Bedřich
Bedřich Smetana. Okay. But anyways, yes. it's a concert etude. It lasts roughly 3 to 5 minutes, and she plays brilliantly on the thing. I mean, it's called At the Seashore, and it sounds just like that. It's brilliant, and the run sounds just like the seashore, water coming up and then ebbing away. It's beautiful. The other pieces are a few Chopin works. You have here, let's see, Chopin Ballade G minor, Nocturne G minor, Ballade number 3, A flat, the Nocturne Opus 48, number 1, C minor. We also have a Hungarian Rhapsody number 6 by Liszt and Sonnet number 104.
Petrarch.
Yes, Petrarch.
Mm-hmm.
The large-scale work is the Waldstein Sonata by Beethoven.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's different. The first movement where you have it's the 16th notes has this quality where it has a scurrying quality. So, anyways, it has a scurrying quality that I've never heard associated with this piece when I hear it performed by other pianists. But it's quite amazing. But she's a strong woman. Arthur Rubinstein used to say that she played with the strength of 5 men, and it sounds like it. It sounds like
She's
it.
Brazilian?
She is from Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Claudio Arau has seen her play, and he says she is a goddess.
Wow.
It doesn't surprise me. But anyways, the origins of this recording, it's interesting. Like I said, it's from Cincinnati. I've read the book here. It says it's from Cincinnati, and it came out of, I guess, one of those Apico quality type recordings.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, it found its way in Cincinnati. So this is from the actual rolls belonged to some private citizen in Cincinnati, and he was nice enough to loan the rolls to somebody so that he could produce this disc. This apparently, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Oh. Her recordings for M, Velta, and Sonia. April 1905.
So Mignon Velta, which was the reproducing system.
Yeah.
The Velta Mignon system. Recorded a lot of famous people in the early 20th century. This is a really remarkable reproductive system.
Yes. This is a handsome booklet. Check it out. She's got pictures of her in the Rollo Zerlina from Don Giovanni. Isn't that amazing? They've got a cast of her hand compared to the Rubinstein.
Anton.
So
she studied with him.
She did study with him.
Whoa.
Isn't that interesting?
She was a pupil of Gottschalk. She studied with him in Paris.
Wow.
And then she studied with Matthias and then with others. Well, she had a very big, broad, powerful hand.
Yeah.
Her finger's not too long.
No, but she's strong. Listen to the recording. I mean, the sounds that she gets out of the instrument. You know, I mean, what have you heard about the accuracy of the Velta Mignon?
It's really good.
It's very good? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never understood it, but just from listening to the CD, I've listened to this CD for the last 2 days in my car. I just can't get over some of the interpretations in it. Oh, the octaves in the third ballade of Chopin, it has that quality where, you know, the D sharp minor etude that Horowitz plays, where he plays those pianissimo, almost the octaves that goes up. She has that. she has that in her arsenal as far as her technique goes. Amazing recording.
Well, you know, I didn't know this about her.
But
She said after she toured the world as a pianist, in 1870 she was living in England and began to develop her singing voice.
yep,
She appeared as the Queen in Les Huguenots
yep,
in Edinburgh in 72. And she sang Mozart's Don Giovanni. She was Zerlina. So that's really her in the show
yep.
at the Academy of Music, making her New York debut in 1876. Then she was on tour in Caracas. She took over as a conductor of the opera company.
Wow.
And she played all over the place. She's fluent in 5 languages.
Yep.
Married to 4 husbands.
4 husbands.
Not at the same time.
I know.
She's one of the first pianists to play the works of Edward MacDowell
Yeah.
in public.
She,
Ooh, and her pupils
Yeah.
included MacDowell
MacDowell
and Egon Petrie.
and Egon Petrie. Yeah, she premiered the first piano suite of MacDowell, as well as the first piano concerto, which is
Wow.
an A minor.
How much did you pay for that?
How much did I pay for this?
$2.
Uh,
$10.
10.
10.
10. So I had to pick it up. I had to pick it up. And I
Yeah,
just saw
so,
I just saw the name. I thought,
That's
what?
well, that's a unique find too.
Yeah, it's a very unique find, and I'm sure it's.
You listened to it, Red?
I've listened to it for the last 2 days.
Wow.
I have not. I mean, I've listened to this thing like 4 or 5 times already.
Wow.
It's amazing. I mean, just the originality of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it says something about how, you know, the way they think back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't get more 19th century than this, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool.
But anyways, believe it or not, folks, that is my find for this week.
It's a great
I didn't have anything else. But anyways, let me see what we have in here. I know we had some stuff in here. Oh. Well, some of this stuff is going to have to wait. We've been wanting to do this for a while, but maybe we should think about doing this in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, folks, if you've been there goes my voice. Okay. So, if you've been following us, we haven't talked about this in a while, but this is what we get to look forward to. Hopefully, in a couple of weeks. Our schedules have been swamped lately. We were going to review this book maybe in 2 weeks. Give us some time. We'll definitely talk about this one. So this is what's coming up.
We covered Levine's book.
Yeah,
Joseph
we
Levine,
did.
a while back. And this is Carl Giesecke, or
Walter
Giesecke with his teacher, Carl
Limer.
The first part of the book about the memorization is fine, okay. But, you know, there's some good stuff in it. I love Giesecke's playing.
Oh yeah,
He was
absolutely.
amazing.
I mean, you almost feel like I think you brought this up once, but when you hear the toccata from the Forlì piano, you almost feel like it's just to that breaking point and an eminent wipe outs to happen, and it doesn't happen.
Well, there's a Liszt right here.
Yeah.
He did, well, they say it's a rather remarkable thing because, and you can tell, I've got his complete Ravel, complete Debussy. There's now a box out, which is all this stuff. I've got some smaller boxes, which I've purchased in recent years. Complete Ravel is one, complete Debussy, and complete Bach, I think. But all these radio recordings he made. The Liszt is astonishing, breathtaking, because he plays it as though he were in a performance. You know, you just gotta let it go and just, you know, swing. It's, you know, like Lou Gehrig or you just swing for the damn center field.
Yeah.
And I mean, and yet the control is really extraordinary. But it's one of the more hair-raising performances I've ever heard anybody do. And it was a studio recording. He didn't have to play it that wildly, but he did.
He did.
You know, Casey Kingston was a very interesting guy. So when we talk about the book, maybe tell a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that everybody knows who he was.
Yeah.
But he deserves to be remembered in the first half of the 20th century as one of the giants, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he ever came over here.
I don't.
I think he was based in Europe.
Yeah,
And part of that is he was alive during the Nazi times.
Yeah.
And he was one of those German artists who just stayed in Germany, and stayed in Europe because he was German. I don't think he had any great love for the Nazis. But, like Furtwängler did the same thing with Berlin.
Yeah.
Now, there were some people that were a little bit more active and or sympathetic.
Yeah.
Von Karajan and you gave me his book.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy. Is it Furtwängler?
No, not Furtwängler.
The other guy.
Isn't it Carl? I'm sorry, I can't think
Oh,
of his name.
I know which book you're talking about. I can't remember the name now.
He's a really famous guy.
It was in German, too.
Yeah.
That's why I got it for you.
Yeah. I'm glad to have it, because I really do like the guy's music.
Yeah.
He was another student of Richard Strauss,
Yeah.
another conducting student. But I read something recently where when Bernstein went across to Europe and he met von Karajan for the first time.
Oh.
Bernstein, American Jew, right?
Yeah.
He's, fine. I mean, when I was growing up, come on, there was Bernstein in America.
Yeah.
And there was von Karajan in Europe.
Yeah.
And von Karajan went over, or Bernstein went over, and apparently in his first meeting with von Karajan, extended his hand and says, "My first Nazi."
Oh! He said that?
Yeah, and then later, when he met Carl Bern.
Oh,
Carl Bern was
no. From
the
the book.
guy. Yeah. I'm not sure if he said it to Carl Bern, because he would have been an older man, but if he said it to somebody around him or with him, I'd say, "My second Nazi." Get him, Leonard.
Well, folks, we've had quite a day today here.
Yeah, this was fun.
So, it was wonderful.
Was it what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was wonderful. Yeah, I got to talk. I mean, I've been trying to get this one out of the way. I've been holding on to this thing for like a month.
No, it was
Waiting for us to
probably.
get to the featured composer. But I enjoyed this immensely. But yeah, this is a composer. I mean, I've been wanting to try his music, and I've dabbled with it. Like I said, it's definitely a part of the repertoire. I don't know how long
your
it
mom
comes
put away. I have it in the car. It got from here to the car, and then I want to go take it to Staples and get a copy made.
Oh, the Defia.
The Defia.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
But I still have it. No,
Okay.
it is.
Okay, good.
And maybe actually when I go from here, I'll drop it off when I go down.
Okay, cool. All right, so folks, if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Hope you all had a good time today. I know I have. Mark has.
Did you guys have a good time?
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Just like kids. So, folks, come back again and see us again. All right? This is
Mark?
I'm Elmer. And we are
PSI. Piano Scene Investigation. Bye, everybody. That was fun.